Hi, my name is Daryl. Here's your Jeep news for January 28th. So in my first story, talking about Tim Kuniskis turning down the role of CEO of Stellantis. Well, maybe not turning down the role, but taking himself out of the race for the position. And this was reported on Mopar Insiders. Very interesting. They actually found this story on Newsweek that talked about it. Newsweek isn't really into car news typically, but yeah, they found this article. So, big props to Mopar Insiders for finding this. And basically, Tim Kuniskis said in this article, he really prefers products to politics. He doesn't really want to get involved in the politics of the position, and he likes toys, like most of us do with our cars. He likes the products, he likes, the big V8 engines and performance, and now he's got a role of CEO of Ram Trucks, and so he's really got his hands full in regards to getting that brand kind of on brand again, I guess you could say. They've got the rollout of the Ram 1500 that hasn't gone very well. Lots of issues with production and getting the trims that the public really wants. He's got the new heavy-duty rollout with that same kind of electrical architecture that has kind of plagued the Ram 1500 a little bit, and so he wants to make sure that that rollout goes a little smoother. And finally, he's got this real strategic automobile in the Ram 1500 Ram Charger, where he prioritized over the fully electric Ram Rev. So yeah, he definitely has his hands full. Now, there's a lot of YouTubers out there that are saying things like, well, Chrysler, Dodge, Jeep, and Ram just needs to be broken up. And I actually would like to see that happen. I think Chrysler, Dodge, Jeep, and Ram are really the money makers for Stellantis, but I'd really like to see them focus on North America and, the American consumers. And perhaps if that happens, maybe Tim Kuniskis is going to take another look at the position. But for right now, I think he is just focusing on Ram. And I think I take his word on that. So if you are interested, the Mopar Junkie, he's a writer for the Mopar Insiders. He actually did a really nice video about Tim Kuniskis saying no to Stellantis. And as part of that video, he talked about potential names for the CEO position. So, of course, we all know Antonio Filosa, who is currently Chief Operating Officer for the Stellantis North American operations, and he's currently Jeep CEO. They say could be a potential for the position, but he's been really great at kind of putting out fires with the dealers and with the products. And so Stellantis is really liking him in that role. The other person that potentially they could be considering is Mike Manley, who was basically let go by Carlos Tavares, the previous CEO of Stellantis. And, he's had a number of positions within Chrysler, Dodge, Jeep, and Ram. So he's been head of Jeep. He's been head of Chrysler Corporation for the United Kingdom. He has both experience here in North America as well as abroad. So he might be really good for that position. But, it's hard to say exactly what's going to happen. I think right now we just have to let the chips kind of fall. I know Stellantis is getting, a lot of pressure within the Trump administration to kind of break up Chrysler, Dodge, Jeep, and Ram, but it seems like maybe they've quenched some of those concerns with production moving to the United States for a number of their vehicles and increased manufacturing in the United States. So we'll just have to see what happens. All right, in our next news story, let's talk about the Wagoneer S. Now, I haven't had a whole lot of things really good to say about the Wagoneer S, mostly because it shares the similar architecture as the Dodge Daytona EV. And the Dodge Daytona EV, it really had a lot of bad reviews, talking about, them bricking and, having a lot of software problems with the drivetrain. So yeah, I'm assuming that the Wagoneer S is going to have most of those same problems, but nevertheless, the Wagoneer S has been released and it's now hitting dealerships. And there's been a number of reviews. The embargo on YouTubers to talk about the Wagoneer S has been lifted. And so some of my favorite YouTubers, so these are some of my favorite folks. There's a pickup truck, there's a pickup talk, how do I say this? Pickup truck talk and SUV, no. Pickup Truck and SUV Talk is a really good channel. I like Redline Reviews, Alex on Autos with his Auto Buyer's Guide, and Matt Moran Motoring. So most of these folks actually had a lot of really good things to say about the Wagoneer S. You know, I think it was a combination of comparing it to other EVs out there. And it kind of splits the middle between, you know, a pure EV and then also a regular internal combustion engine. So it's more luxurious, you could say, than most of the Tesla models. And I don't know if it necessarily is as pure as an EV as those Tesla models, but it's, you know, it's pretty good. It's got a really good charging architecture, so it can go to like 0 to 80% in like 28 minutes, which is supposedly faster than the Tesla Model Y. So a lot of good things have actually been said about the Grand Wagoneer S. Now, the other thing about the Wagoneer S that you might not know is it's one of the only EVs that still qualifies for a federal tax credit. Now, I don't know how long the tax credit is still going to be around, you know, because it seems like Trump really wants to, the new administration really wants to not necessarily incentivize EVs, but I think it's going to be a little more difficult to eliminate these particular incentives because they were approved by Congress, and also it's part of the IRS now. And there's pretty stringent rules in regards to qualifying for these tax credits anyway, and it really incentivizes auto manufacturers to do all of their production of these vehicles in North America, as well as all the battery materials and production and manufacturing to be here. So yeah, I don't know if those incentives are necessarily going to go right away, but it's one of the few vehicles now, EVs, that does qualify for this tax credit. So if you look here, here's the electric vehicles that currently qualify for the tax credit in 2025. Interestingly enough, the Pacifica, a plug-in hybrid, is one of the very first, it might have been one of the very first plug-in hybrid. It's actually still on the list, and it's the only vehicle that Chrysler makes. But the Wagoneer S is also on there with a $7,500 federal tax credit. So a lot of the vehicles actually disappeared from this list. All the Rivian vehicles disappeared from this list from 2024 to 2025. In addition, a lot of the dealers are already heavily discounting the Wagoneer S. And so, you know, if I go to cars.com and I do a search for Wagoneer S's, now, you know, these are just particular dealers, and who knows if they're really valid or not, but you know, there's upward of $14,000 off MSRP, $12,000 off MSRP on a lot of these vehicles. So combined with the low MSRP and also the $7,500 federal tax credit, yeah, you could get a pretty good deal on a Wagoneer S. The other thing is, now currently that Wagoneer S is the full trim, so it's the most expensive Wagoneer S they're likely going to make. They're going to be offering lower level trims, perhaps ones with only one battery as opposed to two batteries here in the near future. Now, I still have some concerns about the Wagoneer S, so I don't know if I would run out and buy one right away. I would wait, you know, kind of a couple months to see how things are going. But yeah, some very interesting news on the Wagoneer S. Now, in my last news story, talk a little bit about some of the things that Stellantis wants to do for 2025 and really making an epic year. So, you know, they're talking about, of course, releasing a lot of new vehicles in 2025. They want to kind of shore up the consumer's confidence in Stellantis and Chrysler, Dodge, Jeep, and Ram, as well as make the vehicles a little more reliable. So, but as part of that, you know, they want this big kind of marketing campaign. And one of the first things that they're going to do is they're going to air 2 commercials during the Super Bowl. So, yeah, I'm really interested to see. So sometime in the second quarter, Ram is going to be having a commercial. And then before that, in the first quarter, sometime early on, Jeep is going to have an advertisement. And so really excited to see what Jeep brings to the table, as well as what Ram brings to the table. Maybe they're going to be, you know, focusing on the Ram Charger. Maybe Jeep's going to be focusing on something else, something really exciting. But I'm, you know, excited to see that. The other thing, there was a news story about Stellantis execs at the NADA show, so the North American Dealer Association. And currently the head of marketing for Stellantis, this guy named Kumar, who was rehired, he says, keep an eye on us all year long. He says, you're going to see incremental improvements. You're going to see momentum. You're going to see sales gains. The dealers got our back. We got their back. And I feel like we're starting to gain the trust and optimism back in 2025. So I think they're going to focus a lot on, they're going to do the Super Bowl ads, but they're also going to focus a lot on regional marketing. To talk about some of the things within a particular region and focusing on individual dealerships and trying to get marketing to increase in those areas as well. So hopefully, this is going to be a nice new year for Jeep. And this is Daryl with your Jeep News, and I hope to see you in the next video again very soon.